Hey everyone, today we are looking at the Panetti's Spellbreaker, and I've gotten him into Elite just before the Warden, and I wanted this to be a level 65 build video, but it's 66. 65 because that's when you get access to the Paragon of the Arcanum set, which is a really awesome two-piece epic set for Panetti's Replicating Missile. And we'll just jump right into the build for skills. I have the first level of Panetti's maxed out. These, you could really put any number of points you have or you want in these three abilities because they all provide a different benefit to the replicating missiles. In the case of Distortion, it lets them pierce. In the case of Supercharged, it stuns, tiny chance to stun, and in the case of Proliferation, they duplicate more. So each of these abilities, you could really put them at any level you want. I think right now, it's at -3 or 4. So I think it's probably like 5 or 6. Probably about 6 on each right now. I'd probably say I have. I'd have to strip off all my gear to actually get a look at it, but probably about 5 or 6 points right now in all of these, and I plan on maxing out at least Proliferation, probably Distortion. I mean, I'd like to have all of these maxed out, and it may actually come to that, but for now, these are about at 5 points each, because you really need to build your other abilities up with this character, in addition to having like Panetti's maxed out. So Inner Focus is obviously maxed out. 1 point in Electric Flash Freeze and Absolute Zero. I am probably gonna 1 point at least Kalidor's Tempest and Wrath of Agravex before Ultimate, because knocking down heroes is a great strategy in Ultimate, and it's a super helpful strategy in Ultimate as well. So maybe I'll put 1 point in all three of these before Ultimate, just because you want to be able to do that when you can't freeze heroes or stun heroes. 1 point in the entire Scoundrel's Elemental Exchange line. Pretty standard 1 point setup there. I believe I have only 1 point in Mirror of Oraktes right now, but eventually I'd like to get that to 12 to keep it on a high cooldown. My Even Sphere is at 2, 4, I think it's at 5 or 6 right now. As conversion's 1 point right now, and my Even Sphere, generally speaking, you get it at about 10 to 12, and I'll probably go for 12 for it. I may even cap it out, because it's too good of a defensive ability to pass up. And, you know, it's like, I don't need it capped out right now, but of course I'd want it capped out before Ultimate. 1 point in Arcane Will for the 1 point Wonderness. Again, another 1 point Wonder Nullification. Mental Alacrity is maxed out because casting speed is pretty important to this build, and skill energy cost reduction is less important, but it's still helpful. I threw a point in Fabric of Reality to benefit the 2 Aether parts of Panetti's Replicating Missile, and for the 2 exclusive skills, you could kind of go either way on it, because Panetti supports all 4 of the damage types involved. For the cold lightning side of things, well, I shouldn't really mention the elementals. These 2 abilities really come down to whether or not you want the skill cooldown reduction or the casting speed. And I'll point out that my casting speed right now with this character is at 183. But because I'm almost constantly going to have Pneumatic Burst up, it's 2% below the cap. So what I'm basically doing with this character all the time is just button mashing Pneumatic Burst to keep it up. And like, that's almost to the cap of casting speed. So I don't actually need Reckless Power's casting speed. However, if your character is lacking that casting speed, I would probably suggest Reckless Power over Star Pact. But since my guy is at the cap, I think the skill cooldown reduction is much more helpful, because everything on his bar is cooldowns. It's a similar argument for my Albrecht's Aether Ray character. everything is cooldowns, so you really need to make sure you have those abilities up when you need them. On the Nightblade side of things, Pneumatic Burst and Shadow Dance are both maxed out. The reason for Pneumatic Burst being maxed out is to maximize its healing potential and maximize the total speed you get. The reason that Shadow Dance is maxed out is because the avoidance you get from this ability is awesome. It's just awesome. That's basically 20% damage reduction right there, because you're avoiding, or at least for attacks that can be avoided. Like dots and stuff, it doesn't reduce, it's obviously not going to reduce that damage, but you'll avoid melee attacks and projectiles. And that's essentially like 20% damage reduction on both of those attack types. It also is basically working great with, you know, Maven Sphere Protection, which is just your actual damage absorption, and your resistances. So Shadow Dance is a really great defensive ability for pretty much anyone in a Nightblade, in the Nightblade tree. Veil of Shadow, we have at 1 point, and Night's Chill we have maxed out. We have Night's Chill maxed out because we're kind of doing the emphasis on the cold and fire side of things, more than the Aether and Lightning side of things, so I'm not going to discount those two. And I'm obviously not going to seek out going into melee range with some things, but things are going to enter into melee range regardless, and reducing their cold resistance is super helpful for doing that, because it ups the damage of Panetti's Replicating Missile. Also gives, you know, Electra's Flash Freeze a bit more, I guess, oomph on, like, the handful of enemies it can actually hit. I will also point out that Electra's Flash Freeze is the reason I'm kind of on the, like, cold fire side of things, because it reduces fire resistance. So reducing cold resistance and fire resistance is two of the elemental damage types getting boosted in Panetti's Replicating Missile. 1 point on Blade Barrier, because it is a great O-Poopy button, and it really is used for that purpose. You're basically just clicking this when you need like to not die and your health gets that low. You just pop that and you'll live. And I have 1 point there in Phantasmal Armor. That tiny bit of Pierce Res is helpful, as is, you know, reducing freeze duration and gaining a little armor. That's actually a candidate for maxing out as well, because just that flat armor bonus and Pierce Res would be really helpful going forward. And speaking of going forward, I'm going to max out Star Pact, try to get these as high as possible, probably cap that off, get that to 12 with plus skills, maybe put points in Fabric of Reality, and then I'm considering going down to Merciless Repertoire, because the bonus cold damage would be really great. It'd just be flat cold damage. And actually Elemental Awakening would probably be another good potential ability to max out as well, because if you're just keeping Pneumatic Burst on, you'll get all those bonuses as well. So oh, and I could also maybe 1 point Ring of Steel with Ring of Frost and get another snare in there. So that's like potential for the Nightblade side of things. And in the Arcana side of things, yeah, I'll probably 3 point this. Yeah, and like I said, cap certain things out. There's a lot of ways you can take this character, because it pretty much is get Panetti's Replicating Missile, use Panetti's Replicating Missile. For Devotion, wow, that was a nice little freeze there. Devotion, I went and we start on the 2 crossroads for Eldrick and... Oh, I forgot I have 2 points to spend. We have... Yeah, I guess I do have 2 points to spend. We start in the crossroads for Eldrick and Ascendant, and I immediately picked up the Empty Throne and the Hawk, and then I picked up the Spider. We want 10 points in Eldrick to get Oaklane's Lantern, because it is a great caster ability, just caster set of buffs for our character, because we are using a wand in an offhand, and we're always going to be using a wand in an offhand. Also, we pick up Rowan's Crown and attach it to Panetti's Replicating Missile, because this is more elemental damage for the missiles to put out, And you'll get these tornadoes everywhere. Because as Panetti's just duplicates out, it will put those tornadoes down even on the duplicated missiles. So it's more damage, but it is also much more... it's like damage in and of itself, but it's also much more damage in that it reduces the target's elemental resistance. And I just filled it out, because you'll get good bonuses out of that. And after I picked up those two, obviously Oak Lane's Lantern opens up the law area, so that's where we're going next. And we're going to be doing that standard loadout I tend to do with my characters that go into Ultimate, which is pick up the Crane because of all of those nice resistances it gives you. Use either the Sailor's Guide or the Eel on top of the Crane to unlock Yulo, and then put points in Yulos for resistance granting things. And then so that's 5 points, so that'll bring us to 35. I'll have 15. I have to scratch my ear. We'll have 15 points to work with, and going forward on that is either going to be, you know, your standard Torgo and Scales to get more health. I could also possibly go into the Crab, even though I don't like its ability, because that's just a lot of elemental related stuff. And I am considering going over to the Blind Sage to pick up Elemental Seeker. The problem is I don't have an ability to attach it to. And I don't know. It's like, I really do like Rowan's Crown with this character. And picking up Elemental Seekers, like, you can... The Panetti's Replicating Missile will get a lot of them. I already know it'll get a lot of them. And they could potentially deal a lot of damage. So, I mean, there's no limit on the number of these you can have either. So it could actually be a damage bonus, damage boost. And I have 6 and 13 on Ascendant and Eldritch. So 5 more Eldritch is very easy to get. That's pretty much like Scholar's Light and Crossroads. And then 7 Ascendant is also really easy to get, because I could just pick up like the Owl and I don't even know. I could probably just pick up like the Owl and the Harpy maybe, and maybe go for that on top of preserving my defenses up here. And I'd probably just respec the Crown then. That is kind of a weakness, if you consider it a weakness for this character, is that he only has Panetti's Replicating Missile as a main attack. He just doesn't need anything else. Everything else is just defense for him. Defense and reinforcing Panetti's Replicating Missile. So, right now, his attributes are a little wonky, because I think I'd want to go 2-to-1 Physique Spirit. Did he put points in Cunning? He has, what is that? 5 points in Cunning, maybe? So right now he's a little wonky on his attributes, but I'd probably recommend 2-to-1 Physique Spirit. You'll get a ton of Spirit to meet all your requirements, and deal, you know, enough damage through your gear and your devotion and inner focus. So you'll definitely want a lot of Spirit or Physique to survive, and equip, you know, maybe some heavier armor later on. So he has a Shrewd Ritual Scepter of the Sage, and he really needs like an empowered Cartosian Invoker or something else. But right now this is just gonna service his weapon. His weapon is a DPS stick, and this does enough DPS for him that he can actually just DPS. It's +1 to Panetti's is the only real reason I have it still equipped. The only legendary he's running right now is a Shroud of Illusion, which is a really nice little defensive elementalist type of chest piece. Its pants are the Empowered Hermit's Leg Guards. Bonus experience, bonus inner focus, and the stats are pretty good for what it is. I mean, it's nothing spectacular to write home about otherwise. Empowered Crushing Will is your go-to offhand for this character, +1 to all Arcanist skills on top of lots of casting speed and offensive ability and regen, and elemental damage, just everything you could want in an offhand at the epic level. His gloves are Empowered Zealots gauntlets for the offensive ability and the regen and the casting speed. Boots are Spell Sage boots, which pretty standard caster boots, +2 to inner focus on top of all of your standard castery things. His accessories, Devil's Wrath Seal and Chill Surge Ring. Probably going to replace these with something much better later on, but they'll hold for now. Avarice of Andronius for his amulet, which at level 68 is actually going to be replaced by the Invoker's Shard, which I got a while ago. I don't even, like, it's the first piece of the, like, legendary Panetti set, so it's like, yeah, we definitely want this as our amulet in 2 levels. Arcanum Sigil is our medal, and I think the Legion has another Panetti's related medal, and I'll probably look into equipping that for this character. Physics Utility Belt, a classic bit of regen. And again, it's like a level 24 item, so I'd probably replace it out later. I don't know if I have an empowered one. I'll have to look into that. And he has a Haunt relic for his relic. I'm not using the ability. It's just, again, he could probably do for an upgrade on his relic, but we'll worry about making that later. And then finally, he has, as I mentioned before, the Paragon of the Arcanum set. It's just a helmet and shoulders, and I have a feeling he's actually going to be wearing this for the rest of his career, because if you look, the Invoker stuff is, it is an amulet, a ring, and an offhand. So that leaves open his helmet and his shoulder slots to keep this together, and I think they did that by design. And then his weapon, I believe there is a legendary that's called like Panetti's Replicating Wand, and that's probably what he'd go for as his wand. I don't really know what else I'd slot in legendary-wise in the future, but I know it's going to be the Invoker's 4-piece and the Paragon 2-piece here. For components, Enchanted Flint and a Cold Stone. Like I said, we're doing the fire-cold things, and we can look at his elemental damage real quick. I mean, he's about equal on all of them. Oh, his fire's a little lower. And then he's got a little bit of Aether damage in there. I think that's because I'm running Star Pact right now. That's why fire's a little lower. So, yeah, ballistic plating for the avoid projectiles. Ancient armor plate standard on your pants. Bristly fur, I'd probably switch out for anti-venom salve. I just haven't done it yet. The attuned lodestone, I think, is going to be your best bet for a metal component. Then we've got Mark of the Traveler, Spellwoven Threads, Silk Swatch, Arcane Spark, which I could probably switch out for an Arcane Lens, but I'll do that when I get this in there. And then 2 Mark of Illusions. And I believe that about covers everything on the character. And we're going to go kill the Warden. It's kind of weird that this is the guy, like, that my next video is going to be about, because I've actually been playing as a lot of other characters, just trying to get them through Elite a little more. And it's like, this is the guy I just picked up today just to play something that wasn't those other characters, and it's like, it's weird that I'm actually just, oh, I want to record a build video for him. So the Spellbreaker is probably, come on. I'd probably say it's my favorite in terms of the defenses it provides your character. Like, I do like battle mages as well, but look at all those tornadoes. Now imagine this as being like, imagine all those tornadoes as being little elementals that pop out and follow you around. I mean, I know it wouldn't be at the same degree because they're based off of crit, but still. Anyways, yeah, because of Pneumatic Burst and all of the Arcanist abilities, I actually think that the Spellbreaker is probably your best bet in terms of defense. At least for me it is. Battle Mage is great as well. But yeah, I do really like Spellbreakers. Now I'm going to be a little heavy-handed on throwing out the replicating missiles. Just doing it without... Oh, look, we got a Zambrant over here. I mean, a lot of people think it's kind of a weakness of Panetti's that it goes slower on bosses, and it does. That's like an honest complaint, or honest criticism, I should say, of the ability. But for the most part, it's not like it's that much slower, in all honesty, to DPS down one target with this ability. Oops. I mean, it's no Albrecht's Aether Ray, obviously, for single target. Man, the game is kind of laggy right now. Also, I was gonna say I'm a little heavy-handed on the missiles, but I'm trying to kind of go a little fast, at least a little fast. Also, I'm apologizing for all the clicking you're gonna hear. I mean, I'm gonna try to not click as much, but just the nature of the ability is you end up clicking a lot. It's gonna be interesting to see how this goes in Ultimate, because he's been like I've barely noticed it's been elite with this guy.
That skill's not ready.
I think the only other character I really felt that with has been my my Plaguemancer. I'm working on him too. I want to get him a little further in Elite than the beginning. Maybe even early Ultimate for him. It depends on how my depends on whether or not I'm driven insane by playing through the end of the game so many times so quickly. Because I pretty much did it today with him, with this character.
Can't do that yet.
And it's like, oh, I don't know if I have the mental tenacity to sit here and play through that last boss on Elite with 2 characters I have to play through the end game in Elite with. Possibly 3 if I can get the Elementalist to work. Oh, it's Gethren that's in the early parts. Zambrant's back here.
It's only the beginning.
And we're here. Yeah, so this guy can shred the game to pieces. It's really awesome. Oh, this is probably where we're going to see a huge weakness of the build. Maybe.
That skill's not ready.
Also, it's kind of a force of habit for me to hit the oh, screw you. To hit Electra's Flash Freeze.
Done with you, I will crush your friends and cross me. You are strong. Now, I will demonstrate.
You aren't crushing anything, pal.
Can't do that.
Ah. Oh crap. So that is a perfect example of when you definitely want to pop your blade barrier. No. Eating three crossbow bolts from the Warden. Definitely a point when you want some kind of defensive screen up. Ah, crap. Really, though, part of me is like, oh, I should probably keep him in medium range because then he won't fire his... Oh, crap. So then he won't fire the damn crossbow. But he'll keep stunning me because it's harder to dodge the stun when you're closer. I mean, barring a massive screw-up on my part, I don't think we're going to lose this fight. I mean, it's totally within my ability to screw up even at this point. So that was Panetti's Spellbreaker, I guess you could call it. Taking on the Warden in Elite. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll